Hi, I'm Eric Burleson, State Representative from the 136th District in Springfield, Missouri. And today, this week, we wanted to talk to you about House Bill 1639. And with me is the sponsor of the bill, Jerry Nolte from the 33rd District in Kansas City North. Jerry, first I wanted to talk about how 1639 is different from HJR 43, which we passed at the very beginning of the year. That was a bill that's now being worked through in the Senate, and it was a bill that I sponsored, and it has to do with keeping the expenditures of the state at a constant rate, making sure that government is not growing beyond what it necessarily needs to grow by. How is 1639 different than that bill?
1639 is different in that what we're doing there is actually lowering the rate of taxation for all businesses by 50%. That includes sole proprietorships and family farms as well. The idea is that will stimulate growth in those economies and job creation, which will in turn increase our intake of tax money and revenues to the state.
That's great. So while the HJR 43 deals specifically with trying to restrict the expenses of government, yours deals with the income that's coming in and the tax rates and the revenue that we have as a state.
It deals with that issue. The main thrust, of course, is to put money in the hands of entrepreneurs. That is really where wealth is created and jobs are created, is in those hands, not the government's.
That's a novel. I hear all the time people say that, we're up here to create jobs, and I think that's a refreshing attitude. It's really the businesses that are creating jobs.
That's absolutely true. If you use the metaphor of a meal, what we do is we set the table, but the meat and potatoes are brought by a private enterprise.
That's a great analogy. I've not heard that before. That's really great. So can you elaborate, go into the details of how this bill works and how it will create jobs?
Well, what we're doing is initially we will cut 10% off of those tax rates. So it's not a program that they have to apply for. It will be automatic when they do their taxes. Once that 10% is cut, revenues will drop slightly, but we have to bring them back up to the 2010 income levels. Once we've hit that benchmark, which will signal job growth, then we do the next cut. And each time we go through a cut, it has to be tested by growth in job creation.
See, I think what you're doing is really refreshing, because right now we're experiencing at a time where governments at all levels, federal, state, and local, they're seeing the decline of revenue, and their response to that is often to raise taxes, because politicians and bureaucrats, they start getting desperate. If they're not getting the money, then they wonder where they're going to get more. So their natural inclination is to raise taxes. But what you're doing is refreshing. You're saying, no, let's look at why we're receiving less revenue is because the private sector is hurting. Let's cut taxes on the private sector, and the result will be growing the pie.
Exactly, we will grow the pie, and I would like to say this is an original idea on my part, but certainly this is something that is tried and true. Both Ronald Reagan and John Kennedy employed similar tactics, and the result was the boom that we had in the 60s and the boom that we had in the 80s. So I think we're looking at something that is not experimental, but something that is a method that has proven its worth.
That's great. Have you gotten a lot of feedback on this bill?
Yes, particularly in the business community, obviously. There's a good deal of excitement that they will have the opportunity to take this money and invest it where it needs to be, which is in capital improvements or in personnel.
I think that's a great point to be made, is that businesses that are already succeeding, that are existing today, what better way to, we often try to craft different programs, projects as legislators that we think will really create jobs, but jobs are already being created. And really a broad-based tax cut that money will be utilized to a maximum extent, because those businesses that are succeeding the most will create the most jobs.
And really one of the criticisms you hear is that we of course pick winners and losers. In this particular instance, it is for everybody.
That's a great point. Well, thank you for bringing this bill forward. It's been great working with you, Jerry. I know that this is your last year,
yes.
But we're excited to see you move on to bigger and better things. And I just wanted to introduce you to my constituents back home and tell them about about your exciting bill. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you have questions about this bill, House Bill 1639, or HJR 43 that we talked about, you can contact me at my office at eric.burleson@house.mo.gov. You can also reach Jerry at his office if you want to tell them.
So my email address is jerry.nolte, house.mo.gov. This phone number is 573-751-1470.
Thank you.